people are probably already asking, what is the Forever Agent? And we will get into it. And this is going to be a bit of an anthology. Each one of these points could be a 2-hour podcast in and of itself. We decided to come up with a podcast exclusively for the Forever Agent concept. I want to dive into this. Welcome back to the Forever Agent Podcast, Episode 2, Segment 3. We're going to close it out with the last 11 of the 33 Forever Agent proclamations, starting with number 23. Real estate agents focus on micro-selling. Forever Agents do both micro-selling and macro marketing. And it was similar to distinction number 22 that we ended with, but there is a difference. Take it away.
Well, again, this is a very important proclamation to reinforce an exemplification, if you will, from the Magna Carta analogy. The most successful agents, I think, moving forward, will be masters at micro marketing. Okay, macro marketing. Forgive me.
And micro selling.
Yeah, both, but even much more macro marketing. For example, is there any agent that would say that they're as successful as Zillow in terms of establishing first point of contact with consumers? No. That's macro marketing. So then no one's going to replicate Zillow, but there's dozens of things at the macro level that they can excel at that will be part of the Forever Agent coaching that Bob Watson and the Global Network training will touch upon from basic, instead of just going to seminars, for example. Like, is there any industry that attends more seminars than the real estate industry?
Probably not.
But Forever Agents will start to do more of giving seminars for the public, for consumers and clients. And so that would be an example of the macro. And that's what other industries have done. Like life insurance agents, they were all just into micro and the selling. Now they want to macro. That's why you'll have financial planners doing dinners, doing breakfasts, doing events in terms of that. They're trying to do more to influence people at the macro level. And so that's a very important proclamation.
Well, I'm glad it's so reinforced because it's not just sales and not just marketing. There's so many little things. And what we're going to do with the Forever Agent group coaching, and Bob Watson's going to be rolling this out, is the micro selling, the psychology of sales. We're going to improve on that in a big way. If you learn the language, because I'm a Daltonite and I've studied the language. If you can employ this when you're talking with a buyer, when you're talking with a seller, when the market's appreciating, when it's depreciating, if you're well-versed in this stuff, a Forever Agent is both great at that and the macro, getting more opportunities. And when you get them, you close them.
Well, let's give that one example that we did in one of the other segments of the macro level. The industry dealing at the micro level wants to deal with first-time buyers.
Right.
But at the macro level, they're not first-time buyers, they're renters. What percentage of first-time buyers, when they're in that process, at that moment in time, are renting? Almost all of them.
Right.
So that's why we created a rent-to-buy assistance program. And the rent-to-buy, maybe I have it here, I have it over there somewhere, but the rent-to-buy assistance program then allowed us to advertise a program that almost sounded like it was from the federal government.
Right.
It's sociology. Thinking of buying your first home, ask about our company's rent-to-buy assistance program. Who gave the assistance? The homeowners and the builders. So then we'd sign them up, and they'd be willing to pay down a point, to pay up to 3 months of a lease, to get somebody out of a lease. Then we did marketing to rental buildings, letting them know that these condominium developments have pre-approved their building with financing. See, those are macro ideas. So then we were able to list developments, list homes, and attract renters to make them buyers. That's macro.
It helped Alan list 10,000 condos at a time. How many people do you know that have sat down and listed 10,000 units?
Yeah, it was called Newport at Jersey City, overlooking Manhattan. In fact, let me tell you how I got that listing. I put together 3 macro ideas. I was competing against ad agencies in Manhattan. This developer, the LaFrac organization, before that time, they never once used a real estate company on the marketing side. And I was competing with all these Manhattan ad agencies. And so I put together a campaign. It was three-dimensional because Newport at Jersey City was at the end of the Lincoln Tunnel and right across from Manhattan. And you could take a train called The Path. I had 3 easels. My first easel went like this. Newport, the light at the end of the tunnel, because it was at the end of the Lincoln Tunnel. So I had easels on that. That's a macro idea. Then I had, my next one was for the train stations, for the trains rather. Newport, your path to a better lifestyle, because the name of the train system was The Path. Then I have another one with the ferry boats, move over. So when I brought in these 3 macro ideas, it basically demonstrated to the builder, these people get macro marketing, okay, in a very proactive way.
And you knew how to sell it.
And then the rent-to-buy assistance program.
Well, we can't go into all the programs because those are worthy of their own entire episodes. And that's going to be coming out hopefully this August, 2022. And Alan's got so many stories that I can't wait to pull out of them. But for the sake of the proclamations, I'm not going to. But how you pitched American Express was unbelievable. And I want to know more about how you land 10,000 listings, but that was just the first take. But there's so much more to that story, and we'll dive into it. Moving on to number 24, Forever Agent Proclamation 24. Real estate agents see themselves as members of the service sector. Forever agents appreciate the difference between personal service, home-related services, and professional skills. So I'm going to let you take those distinctions.
Well, because I'm research and development, I actually keep a lot of my research in my archives.
I know. There's a bag of it over there.
Yeah, and so for this podcast, I went back to this article from about 15 years ago in USA Today. And in USA Today, they surveyed the public as to where the public expects to receive the best service from. Who do you think they expect to have the most service? What do you think? What would you say, Andrew?
We had a nice dinner last night. Remember restaurants?
You got it. Did you see this?
No. Yes, I did.
Restaurants, 88% of people expect to receive the best service at a restaurant. 84% a specialty store. Department store, 71%. A drugstore, 70%. And they expect the best service, number 5, from a grocery store. Thank God our industry isn't in here. Thank God that it wasn't real estate agents first, because we'd be in big trouble, because it would memorialize what a lot of realtors, unfortunately, unwittingly say. Oh, I give great service, which is a good thing, because it just memorializes that you're in the service sector. See, very few people will ever say, if you're going to have surgery, you've got to see this doctor. He gives great service. She gives great service.
The best bedside manner.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, this attorney, oh, my God. Okay, he's weak in the courtroom, but, oh, my God, does he give great service? Oh, he stays in touch with you. Okay? Oh, he's unbelievable. He's got, And so, thankfully, we didn't make the category of the best service. So, but service is very important. But service is the frosting on the cake. The cake is skills. That's why when somebody buys an automobile, even if the car salesperson takes them for 15 drives, does a great job getting them financing, okay, 5 months later, that client will go back to the dealership and they'll go to the service department. So they'll say to their friends, oh, you've got to go see Andrew. He's a great salesperson. Oh, and they also give great service, because they understand you're in the selling, okay, skill sector. The service department, they're in the service sector. Now, real estate professionals have to do both. And service is very important. But skills is where there's greater value. So, for example, let's take even in validation. All fees are negotiable, but let's say a home seller said to you, Andrew, what's your fee? And you said, let me take an arbitrary number.
6%.
Let's say 6% arbitrary number, okay? And you said 6%. And then I said to you, well, the other company, they said they'll do it at 5%. Now, let's say you said 4%, because, again, fees are negotiable. Now, let's say that the agent then said, oh, but I give better service. Do you think some realtors have said that?
Of course.
Here's the problem. Well, I've got $1 million home, and your fee is 6%. and you're going to be great service. My son has a $100,000 home. I don't have a son, so this is all just mythical here. I have a son with a $100,000 home. Andrew, will you also give him great service?
Of course.
And what will be his fee?
6%.
Can I ask you this question? Why do I have to pay 10 times as much for the same great service?
That's happened to me before.
Yeah, of course it is. Does everything cost 10 times as much? It doesn't make any sense. But if a forever agent understands they're in the skill sector, then they'll be able to say this. My negotiating skill alone is worth at least 1 point, and for your $1 million home, that's worth 10,000. It's only 1,000 for your son. My networking skill is worth 1 point. That's 10,000 for you. And these are all hypotheticals. No one's guaranteeing this. But what I'm saying is that somebody there is now aligning themselves at the skill sector level. Now let's go to services. There's a difference between service and services or home services. There's a major difference. But if you were to ask most real estate agents to talk about service, they tend to see service as something that they personally do as opposed to arranging.
Right.
That's why there's a loyalty gap, and that's why there's not enough real estate ecosystems, because you're not going to put in solar panels. You're not going to put in a new family room. You're not going to install a swimming pool. So it's like this. It's like if somebody goes to an urgent care, they may give you great personal service, but it wouldn't be great service because if they don't do an MRI, they don't do a culture, they can't provide services. A doctor is not as valuable when he or she is outside the hospital, even though they can give great personal service, they're not in alignment with services. So that's why I think forever agents have to make these very important distinctions. Draw a circle. What percentage of my value is because of my personal service? What percentage of my value is because of the home services that I coordinate, I'm a conduit to? And what percentage of my value, it should be the major part of your value, is in your skills. And the more that we make these distinctions, the more we challenge ourselves to understand the relative value of each.
I love that. I don't have much to add because we all know skills pay the bills. Forever agents are in the skill sector. Of course, you do service. Of course, hopefully you have an ecosystem of home-related services. But make no mistake, you get paid on your level of skill. After all, the most professional people are the ones who get paid to.
And not that. What if a homeowner said to you, Andrew, you want me to pay 5% for your fee tonight? I'm only going to pay 3%, but guess what? I'm going to provide you with great service. I'm going to return your phone calls. The home will always be clean. Would that work for you? I'm going to give you better service.
That would
No. Give me a break.
I know. And that's why this is such an important proclamation, number 24. Forever agents appreciate the difference between personal service, home-related services, and professional skills.
Amen.
So big. Number 25. Real estate agents are recruited and retained. As a team leader, this speaks near and dear to my heart. Real estate agents are recruited and retained. Overused words in the industry. Forever agents want to be selected and developed, not recruited and retained. So we're growing our team here. And you just met Rob Kanzler, who stuck around for the first few sessions. The best people don't want to be recruited or retained, which means we're trying to find a gimmick to keep them here, make sure they can't leave. Exactly. That's not how people want to be treated.
Right.
I want people to go off and do their own thing if they're not seeing an overwhelming amount of value. If my skills and my ecosystem and my service is not good for my teammates, then they shouldn't be here. They don't want to be retained. That's like what prisons do. But they do want to be selected. It says, hey, out of all these agents, we like what you got. We see a lot of raw talent in you. We see somebody that we can work with, that we can mold to make great, to make into a forever agent. And we will develop you. Because no one starts off great. When I first got into the industry, when you first got into the industry, there was probably a lot to improve upon. Mm-hmm. But you were selected and developed. If you're not going to be developed, you shouldn't be where you are. So ask yourself this. Am I being developed? Because there's people in your organization, I can guarantee it, including people in the global network, that will develop you. But when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So this is on you, the real estate agent, or maybe someone on their way to becoming a forever agent. You have to take this upon yourself. Every time I've ever asked anyone for help, particularly at the brand, No one's ever said no to me. You never said no to me. Jimmy Burgess helps me out a ton. Vince Lisi calls me, giving me advice on how to do commercial buildings just because I asked him one time, hey, can you teach me how to be good with money? Because these people want to develop you. So could you add a dimension to recruiting and retaining? Why do we say it so much?
First of all, Andrew, great distinctions. First of all, I've never been involved in any network where more leaders are dedicated to developing people.
Seriously.
Gino Blafari, the chairman of the network, was the number one agent in a county of 2 million people. Then he started he was the president of the largest Century 21 franchise in the world. I think 8 or 9 of their top 11 to 12 offices he managed. Then he formed Intero, one of the epic legendary brokerages in the world. Then he went on to become CEO of our network and then for the Home Services of America. And Christy, so he's all about development. Christy's, one of her major objectives is this forever agent coaching and development. That's why she's led the charge that we have mastermind groups, right, that Vince is involved in, that Jimmy's involved in, speaking of these great developmental leaders. Then the broker leaders, the Candace Adams, the George Patzios, the Martha Mosier,
Rod Messick,
the Ray Mesa, Rod Messig, okay, Diane Glass, you go right through the network, the geniuses leading Fox and Roach, Larry Flick. These people, they're unique in all of the industry. These are people that understand full service, skills, personal service, the consumer, the clients, marketing, the macro. So therefore, this is why Christy Budnick has said, I want us to be a brand and a network known for selection and development more than recruiting and retention. And you've heard me say this, the only institutions that I can think of in my research that is devoted to the concept of recruiting as much as our industry would be the military, God bless them, and then and all they do. And then the only people that is devoted to retention would be the prison system and unfortunate souls there. And so, and when people are in a culture that is incessantly talking about recruiting and retention, and recruiting solves every problem a manager can have, it sends a message that people are interchangeable widgets.
And they're not.
Everything we're doing with the Forever Agent, the marketing system, George Patio and his workbook, Bob Watson and his global coaching, what we're doing with these podcasts is to help people develop. And if you help people develop, the retention will take care of itself, because people usually will make the decisions that are in their best interest. We've got to have it more in the best interest of everybody, that there's no other place on earth that people can have these concepts.
And one thing we haven't discussed, but I'm just thinking of it as you're talking, is the best way to have an organization that selects and develops people is to know who you are and understand what are you doing? Who are you and what do you stand for? What's your mission? What's your vision? Do you have core values? That attracts people to you, and they want to be developed. It's in alignment.
Yeah, and by the way,
you're going.
And that's where DISC and Myers-Briggs comes in magnificently. When people become more self-aware, okay, of who they are, their personality predilections, their strengths and their weaknesses, then they're easier to develop. It's just that when people try to corrupt that and do DISC guessing, as we've talked about.
I can't have you complimenting DISC too much. I don't think they're going to forgive you. So
hey, look, it started in 1929. You can't offend anybody. It's ubiquitous.
There you go.
It's like no one in the network created it, no coaching created it, so no one in their right mind could ever take offense. But anyway,
right, and it doesn't measure IQ, so no one gets insulted, which is why
exactly.
I don't like it. Some people deserve. Look, if you're not offended enough, anyway. 26. Real estate agents focus on what makes them different. Major distinction. Forever agents focus more on what makes a home and lifestyle different versus just what makes them different. So this is one of your founding pillars of your home marketing system. So put some color on it.
The way I came across this is that for 20 years, Andrew, I went out with my agents. I was president and co-owner of a 60-office company. And the way I tried to bring value to my blessed agents was to go out with 2 or 3 marketing presentations a day over 20 years, including developers.
Every day, every single day,
and builders and developers and so forth and so on. And because I had moved from Boston, where I was a real estate agent, to now New Jersey, where I'm in management, on these appointments, I couldn't say to people, I sold this one, I sold that one, I listed and sold that one. So it occurred to me that when people would say, but I made all the presentations. So when the home seller said, well, Alan, how are you different? Because they saw how involved I was. That's when I came up with, Andrew, rather than focus on how I'm different, we need to keep the focus on how we have to point out what's different about your home and your lifestyle. You see, I don't compete against other agents. I cooperate with all the other agents. We cooperate with all the other agents, but your home doesn't cooperate with other homes in the market. It competes. So the way that we're different, the way that our home marketing system and our customized home marketing system, or our marketing upgrade system, if their listing had expired, is different, is how we're going to showcase what is different about your property. Let me show you how we do that.
Unbelievable. That stuff is so unbelievably thought-provoking and kind of profound. If you've been in enough living rooms as I have, whoever's asking the questions is in control. And when you get that pushback, instead of trying to defend yourself, it's just the most beautiful and eloquent response, because guess what? Most consumers aren't that concerned about, they're not sitting there waiting to say, oh, please tell me about your company. Yeah. Please tell me about your team. No, they want to know how you're going to help them liquidate probably their largest asset.
And Andrew, and if you take somebody's respectfully, if you take their brains to where they're now focusing, oh yeah, how our home is different, you're a distant second. They've long past been concerned, but when somebody's there bragging, we're going to cover this in the marketing proposal podcast, the Forever Agent marketing proposal podcast.
That's
but
right.
But if somebody's basically, I'm this, I'm that, we did this, we did that, and they will, gee, these other companies must sell a lot too. How are you different? You fall into a trap.
Well, Alan, it's like you wouldn't be there if they didn't think you were capable at performing your job.
Exactly.
So we can get around that one. So we're going to cover a lot of this in the Forever Agent.
And Bob's going to cover that in the Forever Agent coaching.
All this stuff will be covered. 27, real estate agents focus on the tricks of the trade. Forever agents focus more on the trade than the tricks of the trade.
Well, this is very personal to me because I've had a number of people think that they're paying me a compliment, and I actually take it as a little bit of a slight. They'll say, oh, Alan, I like the way you said that. Or I love those words. Or that's great. That's a great way of describing that. And I've always said that language is just the clothing of ideas. Otherwise, we just hand everybody a thesaurus or a dictionary. It's the thoughts behind the words. So, for example, when I basically say that we've got to go from listing presentations to marketing proposals, it's not because that's a better word. It's because it has a completely different meaning. A listing presentation, we'll get to that, is about all you and your company and so forth. Or when we say that the market doesn't determine the price, it only influences the price. If somebody is just thinking, oh, I like that, I'm going to say that, that's the trick of the trade. If they don't get into understanding that real estate is not like a commodity like stocks or commodities, and therefore no one can negotiate on a stock, or the market does determine the price, then they're just mouthing words. They're still into, and that's why the industry has such an incredible fetish for scripts. The script, he's got great scripts. She's got some great scripts because people get caught up into the words and they don't start at the thoughts. The thoughts are the trade. The words are the tricks of the trade.
When you first started explaining that, I said, man, have I been insulting the daylights out of my guest here? I said, oh, I like the way that sounds. And I have been writing it down, but I do understand the thoughts behind it because we're trying to implement this at a strategic level. So that's great. And you can look at some of these proclamations as real estate agents, trick of the trade, forever agents, understanding the trade, the deeper meaning.
Yeah, the deeper meaning of everything. It's just not because otherwise you could give every single consumer the medical encyclopedia and they could go around and be just mimicking words, but they would never understand the meaning behind all of these words, why the word was selected.
Exactly. Well, your friend and colleague did that.
Exactly.
Mike Long,
WebMD. Exactly.
Number 28. Real estate agents are focused on the next transaction.
And by the way, but that's why there's the Forever Agent coaching.
Of course.
So we go so deep. Bob and his team of his great faculty will go so deep into these meetings and discussions.
Oh, I've seen the curriculum.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
it. I love it. And feel free to interrupt anytime. This is not scripted. Hey, this is not scripted because that's not how it works. Exactly. I don't have the fetish for scripts. I think this is better.
Yeah. And not only that, Andrew, please feel free to reprimand me in your own fashion.
Oh, I will later.
Okay, good.
Don't worry about that.
Okay, go ahead.
Real estate agents are focused on the next transaction. Forever agents are dedicating to creating real estate ecosystems. Now, I have to confess, I was sharing this with my father, who's a full professor at Johns Hopkins, and he said, well, you should define what ecosystem means. So it just means a complex network of interconnected systems. So you have to have an ecosystem if you're going to do anything, because you can't go very far yourself. Of course, you have to be focused on helping your clients win, because as Alan, as you've pointed out before, you only win when your clients win. That's the forever agent mindset. You don't chase deals and deals and deals. You focus on helping your clients win. So you have to do that. But you also have to be dedicated to creating an ecosystem, because in every single one of these transactions, there's so many stakeholders. There's so many people involved. You have the seller. That could be 3, 4, 5 people, 2 or 1. You have the buyers. You have the buyer's lender, the mortgage company, the underwriters, the appraisals, the title company, the termite company, the home inspectors, the whole litany of other inspectors that could be involved, well, septic, roof. Each one of these people can help your clients win or not. And if you haven't focused on building the ecosystem and creating allies,
good word,
you're going to be in trouble, and you're not going to be able to solve the problems that come up during a transaction for your client. One thing I'm really proud of is, and shout out to my partner, Joe Sacchetti, because he taught me this as soon as I got into the industry. He goes, we don't make enemies, ever. We have nothing but allies. And I think that's one of the reasons we were able to succeed and grow at the level we have, is because we have great relationships with everybody. Our ecosystem is so strong. And that goes back to being not just marketing homes, but networking homes. You can't do it without an ecosystem. Add your thoughts there, Alan.
We'll talk about we can't make enemies. That's why I used to ask my friends in Boston that used to be horrific drivers and irritate everybody if they'd wear the labels of other companies, my competitors, on their automobile so they could get the blame. But that's a little joke.
That's smart. That's smart.
That's a little joke here. But you know what? There's two real estate ecosystems. One real estate ecosystem has been collectivized, and it's indispensable to agent success. Can you imagine how much more difficult it would be for you to get a home sold without a real estate ecosystem of fellow realtors?
You wouldn't have
without
IDX.
the MLS, without IDX. That wonderful ninth wonder of the world real estate ecosystem, okay, is as I said, to be deliberately redundant, is indispensable. That's provided everybody.
That's the MLS.
That's provided everybody. But there's another ecosystem that gets underserved. That's your individual ecosystem. That's your B to B, okay? That's all of the vendors. And so that's your B2C rather, and B2B.
Right. Yep.
And so that's why so the first ecosystem that every real estate agent has an ecosystem, that's a transactional ecosystem. Forever agents have to have another ecosystem, a relational ecosystem. And the relational ecosystem are all of the aforementioned parties to the ecosystem that you just
there's more too.
enunciated, just some
There's
of them.
so many more.
Exactly.
Well, you know what?
And by the way, and that's why we created, Wendy and I, the content, Move, Improve, or Relocate. Because 95% of consumers researched indicate that they're going to engage themselves in a home improvement endeavor.
Right.
And yet people move every 12 years. But oftentimes when these homeowners are contemplating during that 12-year interim period, if you will, that they're going to build in, they're going to put in a new kitchen or put in a swimming pool or raise the roof ceilings or remodel the basement or whatever, most of them don't even call in their past agent. And because of that, if this continues for forever agents, which it won't, the forever agent would be deprived of getting that listing. If they stay there, bringing in all the vendors to get referrals from them, and then when they do sell, they're going to get the listing and their sale. So it's absolutely, and especially for companies that are known for being committed to home services, this is in our DNA. This is in our bailiwick. So when you summarize, I know you'll be asking people, how many of you have an ecosystem? Who's in it? How do you serve them? How much business are you getting from them? This is critical.
Well, and you also developed the clients only home services directory, which is even more directly applying to this, but also goes back to you have to understand service. Hey, it is a service to be a conduit to your own ecosystem of allies who will have your back, give you better pricing, make you look good, take care of your clients. Having those home services and having the skill to put it all together, it all comes back full circle to a lot of these things.
And here's how that circle gets even bigger and more valuable. How many times a week do you think the average real estate agent has somebody approach them if they're out and about and ask, how's the market?
All the time.
Okay. So let's examine, through my research, the way that the industry has responded to that. For years, a lot of realtors actually said it's unbelievable. It's great. I've never been busier. It's evened off. As if they're giving a weather report.
Right, it's hot.
Now, the reason they're giving a weather report as opposed to expanding their value is because they don't have a real estate ecosystem. If they have a real estate ecosystem and then you ask me, how's the market? I'm going to say, Andrew, thanks for asking. We're in a very opportunistic market. There are great opportunities for buyers, sellers, and investors. Now I'd like to ask you a question. When do you think you might be making your next real estate move? And you may say, well, in 2 years. What's the reason? Because our son's going off to university. Well, it may be too soon to start talking about the marketing of your home, but we should get together over the next month or so and start planning a merchandising strategy. See, you can't use the word staging. This isn't a staging need. It's a merchandising need. So now, why would I get involved with you on a merchandising visitation if I don't have a real estate ecosystem that I can't control all the tradespeople and all the work that's going to be done? So then when I do that, I'm getting all the referrals. So it even influences, but now let's take it even, it influences the entire dialogue. Now let's take it a step further. When do you think you might be moving? In a year or two. Let's get together and start planning a merchandising strategy. Then I'm going to end up this with the forever agent mindset. And by the way, I've been meaning to ask you, Andrew, I would love you to become one of my real estate clients.
Is that not the best dialogue you've ever heard? Is that better than, oh, by the way, I'm never too busy for your referrals? If you rewind that back and listen to that dialogue.
But Alan, we're not looking to buy or sell for that.
Right.
That's the very point. I want you to become one of my clients because most people aren't moving for 12 years. But I basically help all of my clients and all of their home improvement, home servicing needs. And in fact, that's why I took the pledge. And as you can see here, here's all the ways that I help. Now imagine if every forever agent had that dialogue as opposed to all I need is a few more listings. Oh, it's evened off. Well, you know what? We're seeing some decline, like a weather report. That's why we're doing this. I don't care if somebody's the number one agent in the world. They can improve that scenario when somebody says, how's the market? By ended up leading to the fact that asking everybody, but realtors have never been coached. Mike Ferry dedicated his book to me. I know all the great coaches, and they're fantastic. Realtors have never been coached to say, how's the market? By the way, I'd like you to become one of my real estate clients. Because the industry has identified the word client only in association with the transaction. So if you've told me in the first few minutes, you're not moving for 10 years, I don't view you as a client. How many clients do agents have that have never had a transaction with them? None. Then after they have a transaction, what do they call 3 years from now? A past client. This is revolutionary content. These proclamations are beyond profound.
Well, thanks for expounding on that. And sorry for interrupting the dialogue, but I just had to because I kept thinking, Buffini got famous for saying, oh, I'm never too busy for your referrals. Here's a sticker. Meaning, and this is a revolutionary way to approach an interaction with a potential client and get them to be part of your ecosystem. Because by the way, when you take care of someone like that, if someone were to take care of my mother like that, she would refer them to like 8
Without
people.
A doubt. You feel indebted. You want to help them.
And then your ecosystem grows. So you know what? In the spirit of disputation, I might change this one because, by the way, it was Number 28, real estate agents are focused on the next transaction. Forever agents are dedicated to creating real estate ecosystems, but there needs to be two ecosystems because you have to be able to speak intelligently on the ecosystem that we're all a part of. And then I cooperate with other agents, but
Exactly.
maybe your home doesn't. So there's two ecosystems, but you have to be able to differentiate that and explain it to the consumer because let's be honest, the public doesn't always know exactly what we do, how the internet works, how the MLS works, how IDX works. And anytime you can teach someone something in a in a manner that doesn't make them feel stupid, you're influencing them, and they.
You know how I always knew that the public wasn't following any of this, unless you point things out. Nothing matters till you make it matter. A good friend of mine is Jim Wycott. He's got one of the biggest independent brokerages in the world, and they was in our market. And I used to have consumers come up to me and say, "Oh yeah, we're also working with Wickert." Okay, and that just shows you they're not following this. We've got to make this important.
Well, that's why the proclamations, by definition, this stuff is important.
Exactly.
So let's keep going. Number 29, you only got 4 more. Real estate agents don't make a distinction between promotion, advertising, and marketing. Forever agents appreciate the difference between personal promotion, advertising, and marketing. Alan, that's got to be you.
Well, words matter. These are important distinctions.
Yeah.
I've asked thousands of my blessed colleagues over the years around the world this question: how would you define marketing? And I've heard a whole bevy of answers. It's personal promotion. It's getting your name out there. It's giving people what they want. All of those are elements. But if you go to a university or a serious corporation, Procter & Gamble or whatever, you're much more likely to hear a more fulsome and accurate definition, such as marketing means first determining the unmet needs of the marketplace and then creating goods and services to effectively respond to those needs. So that goes back to your strategic thinking when you're doing your business planning. Because you should take a circle and say, okay, here's my addressable market, this is the population, this is the mobility profile analysis, this is how frequently people are moving in certain segments,
Right.
population segments. Then ask yourself this question, okay, what needs do people have if they're downsizing? They need guidance in terms of that. I own the URL, Real Estate Trusted Advisor. It's very easy for somebody just to say, I'm a real estate trusted advisor, but a lot of people have actually said that without sitting down and say, what does that mean? Who am I going to advise? What am I advising people on? Is it just on what to buy? Is it just to sell? Is it what's a nice home?
What are the unmet needs?
Yeah, it's got to be advising people on the unmet needs. And so that's why Wendy and I have created this content. Downsizing with distinction by design. How to effectively move up. When to rent and when to buy. Doing planning. So if somebody, those are marketing ideas. Somebody being on a refrigerator, somebody being on a supermarket carriage, that's personal promotion. Somebody sending out pumpkins, because it's not as though the public is saying, our real need from Andrew is that if we could just get that pumpkin, then we'll be able to move up. And so, but people who send out pumpkins, God bless them, make a lot more money than people who send out nothing. People that are on park benches, even though they have to withstand graffiti, even the people on the park benches, okay, they're going to make more money than somebody who doesn't have their image. So I'm a big believer in personal promotion. I'm a big believer, as is Christy Budnick. That's why she wants the Forever Agent, on agents building their brand.
Right.
But that's personal promotion. You've got to do all of them. So you've got to be asking yourself, when I'm spending my money, what part of this is advertising? Like a Super Bowl ad, that's advertising. Years ago, they didn't even have marketing people because they didn't do research. They didn't do demographics. They didn't understand that millennials are both a demographic because of their age and a psychographic because of their predilections.
Right, how they interact. Yeah.
Exactly. And so these distinctions are very important. And we're going to leave these to Bob Watson, the Forever Agent Coaching, to be able to make these distinctions, have discussions within the groups, and have people make a list of all the stuff that I'm doing. Which of these activities would I put into the advertising category? Which percentage would I put into the marketing, and what would I put in the personal promotion? And can I combine them? Can I do, for example, twofers, combine personal promotion with marketing, and there synthesize it as personal marketing, okay, and how much of the stuff is meeting needs and at the same time having visibility. So that's something that will be a big part of the Forever Agent coaching, and it's an important proclamation.
It could be your next book. I think you're due for another book. It could be on that subject. And like you've said, a business unexamined is a business not worth having. So you have to look at what you're doing, because we're all doing this stuff. Real estate agents do this stuff, but the distinction is Forever Agents understand why they're doing it, how they're doing it, and track and measure, and understand, maybe I should do more of this. Can I embed personal promotion and my own marketing? And a quote I love by P.T. Barnum, clown guy, circus guy: without promotion, something terrible happens. ... Nothing happens. You have to be
without
promotion.
a doubt.
So we're not saying, oh, you can't. Personal promotion is important. In fact, when I'm selecting and developing agents for our team, I ask them point blank. I'd say, Alan, are you willing to promote yourself?
But I'll give an example of personal promotion. Here's a few great personal promotion ads. Number one, anytime a Forever Agent goes public and references how much business they've done, I respectfully recommend, this is my idea, that under it they always put this: because my clients deserve the very best. So for example, let's say somebody did 1,000 operations or 1,000 LASIK surgeries. If somebody says 1,000 LASIKs in the last few years, they should put, because my clients deserve the very best. Never promote anything about yourself that's not a benefit to the consumer. Another great promotion is this. This is what they do on Wall Street. Past performance is no guarantee of future results, right, but what else is there to go by? Right. See, that's a syllogism. That's irrefutably logical. So people have to, in fact, I did a whole workshop on the difference between how attorneys promote themselves and how real estate professionals. And here's what my research revealed, Andrew, that I'd like to share with the audience here. Basically, none of the major law firms ever say they're number one. They don't do quantitative promotion. They all instead subjectively talk about how they fight for their clients. We always put our clients first. We'll go to the ends of the world to this and that. It's all about agency. It's all about the lengths they'll go to serve you versus self-aggrandizement. And so that's another thing that I'm hoping Bob will pick up in the Forever Agent coaching, because I have a whole workshop in terms of how attorneys promote themselves, as well as how most real estate agents promote themselves. But that's the key, because my clients deserve the very best.
That's why this was a proclamation, because I hope you can start to feel the power in understanding these concepts. And we could go on for days about that, because, hey, promotion, advertising, marketing, these aren't just little things. These are massive things. These are industry-wide things, not just in the real estate industry, but in every industry.
And here's another little distinction. Like I've seen, because as CEO of Realtor.com, I checked out thousands of websites, thousands of messaging for several years. And I saw a lot of real estate professionals, they'll advertise this, they'll always advertise this. 20 years of serving the community. Now, I'm not going to say about the representing here, but here's what attorneys do. 20 years of fighting for my clients. They do a twofer.
Right.
So they're letting people know they've got 20 years of experience, but now they're explaining what they've been doing for 20 years.
Syllogism.
Exactly.
Syllogism's a great word. You might want to write that one down. Use it. Number 30.
Well, by the way, let me explain what the syllogism is.
They can look it up.
Okay, all right.
You should know that one, though. It's a good one. It's a powerful
But I want to
one.
show how I used it.
All right, go ahead.
I did a video about New Jersey because I was driving down the Parkway.
A genius decision.
I was driving down the Parkway and I saw a picture of Albert Einstein. And it occurred to me the two most notable geniuses, arguably in the history of America, Albert Einstein and Thomas Edison, both voluntarily moved to New Jersey. Now, a syllogism is where you have two premises that lead to an irrefutable conclusion. The great example going back to ancient Greece was this: men are good, Greeks are men, therefore Greeks are good.
Right.
So this was like this: geniuses make genius decisions. Thomas Edison and Einstein were geniuses who made a decision to move to New Jersey. Therefore, a move to New Jersey is a genius decision. Okay? And anytime you're doing stuff, you should be asking yourself, can you make this ad? Can you make this campaign irrefutably logical? And when you say something like this, okay, serving serving my clients for 20 years or helping this or fighting for my clients. It's not quite a syllogism, but it is a twofer.
It's close.
That's close. It's close enough.
It's close enough.
It's
See,
close
I
enough.
misused it. That's why you had to correct me. It's
No,
been a
no,
lot.
no. It's close enough. It's close enough.
Syllogisms.
Right.
Beautiful. All right, moving to number 30. We're coming down the home stretch. Real estate agents focus on selling more homes. Forever agents don't just look to sell more homes, but to market homes for more when representing home sellers. So, Alan, you've created the marketing systems for 6 brands, national brands, massive, massive stuff. And I look forward to sharing some of your older talks. I've uncovered some of these DVDs that Alan has from 1987. They're so freaking good that we're going to put them on YouTube because they shouldn't be sitting on a DVD in your bag. So as the guys developed all these national marketing systems that have been applauded, and fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, that not as many people know about it as they should. And that's my job, at least the way I feel, is I'm liberating Alan's content for our network, for our brand, to exploit it and use it to help their clients win. So when you say forever agents don't just look to sell more homes, but to market homes for more, give us the higher level thought behind that, because we all like the play on words. I've said it on Instagram stories 10 times, but how did you come up with that, and why is it important enough to be a proclamation?
Number one, there are many people on this call, this podcast rather, that can't statistically point to the fact that they sell more homes than any of their competitors.
Right.
There are many brokers in our network around the globe who can't unequivocally reference the fact that they sell more homes. So therefore, to go out there and talk about how you sell homes, to me, is a losing proposition. Number two, the consumer doesn't think it's that remarkable that somebody has the ability to sell a home. That's why there's something called for sale by owner. There are more for sale by owners than people doing their own heart surgeries. And so that just is another indication that people don't believe it's that remarkable for somebody to sell a home.
Right.
Number three, there was an international brand, in fact, one that Michael Jalbert helped build all over the world, that used to advertise this: we're selling houses. I would hope so. You're a real estate company. It'd be like somebody in a restaurant, we're making hamburgers or we're selling food. It's not that remarkable. And so, so you've got to ask yourself this question: what would be more impressive to you? That somebody's spirit of intent, their why, was either that they want to sell more homes or they want to market homes for more. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, market homes for more.
But as simple as that is, because no one can ever measure what a home would have sold for under a different set of circumstances.
Right.
That's why you can never unequivocally say to somebody, I definitely will sell you a home for more, because that would be disingenuous. That's why when I used to see people say for sale by owners get 8% less, I would never do that, because that's disingenuous, because you don't know what the result would have been under a different set of circumstances. I had to sign a thing to be on 60 Minutes with a famous so-called discounter, and I called them out when they said people who list their home with us get saved 30%. They get you can't say that, because that's like price fixing. You're suggesting
counterfactual.
You're saying is that everybody has the same fee and they won't, and no one knows what a different result would have been with different marketing. Okay, so you're undermining real estate agent value. But the industry has been so self-serving, so statistical, that we basically pronounce value based on how many homes we've sold, that has contaminated everybody's advertising, and consumers have developed antibodies to that. I once showcased an ad that I had 7 companies in our market saying they were number one.
Right.
So I used to bring a printout of that on my marketing presentations, and I'd say, folks, see this here? We have 7 companies in our marketplace all saying they're number one. But what is number one is that when we get them all to work together, and they're all part of my marketing system, because obviously 7 companies can't be number one. And then I used to go even further. I'd go over the presentation. I go like this, Andrew, see these companies? This company sells more in the town, but this company sells more in the county. But this company sells more in the state. This company here, they sell more in the country. They're all number one in different ways, but you shouldn't have to choose. We should get them all involved. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Okay, and that's what our home marketing system will do. But not only that, because our focus isn't on who sells the most homes, I am completely focused on getting your home sold for more. And let me show how I'm going to do it. Now that's simple, it's common sense, but for every agent who said, my whole focus is marketing homes for more, there's thousands that are talking about how many homes they've sold. It's not remarkable, and that's the difference.
I have nothing to add on that, other than the fact that it's absolutely brilliant to be so different in the family room, saying, how about I get everyone to work together?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of already automatic with our ecosystem, but no one explains it. So
yeah, so if somebody says, well, we want to talk to that guy, well, they're part of our marketing system. It should never be we're this, we're that, but they don't do this, don't do that.
Everyone's number one in something.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's number 30. Yeah. Number 31, real estate agents don't receive the respect they deserve. Forever agents are respected as real estate leaders in trust and innovation. Now, we picked these words very carefully because Alan essentially rebranded our team as the real estate leaders in trust and innovation. And maybe you can speak to that and how we perhaps are the only brand that can validate trust and kind of spin on innovation, because we are innovative. But take it away from there. Why trust and innovation? And before that, why are these agents not getting the respect they deserve?
Okay. Let me answer it in my chronology, though.
Sure.
Because this is a podcast, we have a little bit more of a generosity of time, and we can elaborate a little bit more.
Unlimited time, baby.
I want to put this in perspective. Years ago, I made a presentation to American Express. In fact, I can show you all of my exhibits. Because my partner was next door neighbor to the chairman, and he talked about me. And he says, have Alan come in, because I had created so many national marketing ads for real estate. And so I put together a campaign that said, express yourself with American Express, okay? I had somebody skiing on an easel, illustration, I said, look, your campaign right now is don't leave home without it, but people don't leave home without it. You've got to activate it now. So the wedding fund, express yourself. They were very impressed. I thought we were going to be able to retire. They were going to take on this ad campaign. But when you're going against these ad agencies, billion-dollar ad agencies, they're going to come up, well, that word express means get lost in this language or something. You're not going to beat them, okay, because they've got too much at stake. But the head of marketing came up to me and he said, Alan, what's great about your campaign, I don't know if you realize this, is that there's a concept called mnemonics, where anytime you can put the brand into the ad, like fly the friendly skies of
American Airlines,
United, you're in good hands with
Allstate,
and so forth and so on.
like a good neighbor.
Yeah, exactly.
State Farm is there.
Exactly. And so that's what we really liked about this. He says, but actually we're going to do something different because we have 17 different businesses. We're going to come out with do more. And so, but it always stuck with me, this whole idea of if you can bring in something that's really distinctive into the ad, right? Any ad that people do that could be used for any other industry, it could be used for hospital workers or amusement parks, it's something to look away from, in my opinion. So I don't create the ads for the company. That's Christy and Wendy, but I'm asked by brokers and teams, Alan, give us an ad idea. That's the one I gave you. The real estate leader in trust and innovation. Because let me ask you this. Should we assume that everybody knows that the Sure Group stands for real estate? No.
Right.
Should we assume that everybody knows that our brand stands for real estate? No. So check off real estate.
Right.
Then the leader. Is it good to be a leader? But see, we're the only brand that can quantify trust because of the parent company. So I put that in. The real estate leader in trust and innovation. I put innovation because there's a technological arms race, and no one is going to be able to say they're the leader of technology. They're going to be laughed at. But innovation can also include your urban to suburban. It can include the move up. It can include the moving with pets, moving with children. Those are innovative concepts. So that's why I suggested that, because that specifically could be used, because we are the leaders in trust, but we're not even telling everybody. And so that's a suggestion. I'm glad that helped. And if that helps any other teams, I would never presume what brokers should do or what the brand would do. But if we have some teams listening and they're looking for something, that might be something.
Well, and I wanted to make that a proclamation because, look, I don't want to just own that and that's for me, me, me. I want the forever agents to use it too, or improve upon it, or ask Alan to make another one. But the real estate leaders in trust and innovation, to me, is the perfect slogan for what we do, who we are, why we do what we do, and it'll be effective in our future marketing campaigns.
And my other marketing idea is like marketing Maryland at the highest level.
We're using that on the marketing proposal.
Yeah, because you can't say you sell homes for more because you disenfranchise buyers. That's why we can't advertise in our windows prices slash 30% because we're disenfranchised buyers. These are some of the nuance that a lot of ad agencies, they don't live in this environment, okay? But you want to have a slogan that when your team members meet with a homeowner, they can make that bridge. Folks, the reason why we say that we market Maryland, nice alliteration, real estate at the highest level is because of our marketing system. Let me show you what I do. Now it's a segue because no one's going to see any of these ads. No one has the budget for that. And so those are my points in terms of messaging.
You know, I said this before, but I like to ask people for help, but I have a filter that I use, and maybe a forever agent might appreciate this filter. I only ask for help from believable people. We call it believability weighted decision making. So if I'm trying to figure out what my marketing slogan is going to be, I want to ask 3 of the most believable people I can find. And luckily, here at our brand, we have the former CEO of Realtor.com. And I won't go through your whole.
And that brand
career.
messaging helped your buddy Brandon there, which is.
Yeah, well, Brandon Brittingham is actually the #1 agent in the state of Maryland, I believe. Does a couple thousand units. He's on the Eastern Shore. He's a phenomenal guy. Thanks for bringing him up because I was telling him and kind of bragging, I've been hanging out with Alan Dalton. We're doing all this amazing stuff. And he goes, he named my company, which is the Maryland Group.
He's with Long and Foster now.
He's with Long and Foster.
Yeah.
So he's one of us, cousins, I guess, under Home Services
exactly.
of America. But shout out to Brandon Brittingham. That guy's just a great guy to follow, a good guy, and someone I enjoy learning
Yeah, because
from.
how could somebody in Maryland not want to deal with somebody with a company called Maryland? It's like very simple. But anyway.
It's mnemonics. The one thing we didn't touch on is real estate agents don't receive the respect they deserve. So before I jump to the next one, because we talked about why they should be seen as the leaders of trust and innovation, why don't they get the respect they deserve?
Because they don't communicate and inculcate the consumer to their full value. You hear a lot of real estate agents say, I don't think people really respect all that I do.
Right.
How could they possibly? You're actually referring to somebody representing a homeowner as a listing agent.
Right.
That's the weakest, most pathetic definition that's completely inconsistent with all of the value that they really represent. They're advertising. When you're ready to buy, sell a home, give me a call.
Transactional.
You're limiting all value to the transaction level. You've got a business card that says the sincerest compliment somebody can pay me is to send me referrals of their friends and neighbors, as if that's their concern, as opposed to my greatest professional privilege is to serve the needs of you. So all of the messaging, okay, we have to retool our rhetoric and our thinking to be able to give a greater sense of our value. And that's the whole thing with the planning guide, with content, in terms of that.
So I didn't want you to go on too long of a diatribe, because if you asked Alan, why aren't real estate agents respected or don't receive the respect they deserve, there's a lot more there, trust me.
Yeah.
But for overview, that's number 31. 32, second to last proclamation, real estate agents do geographic farming. Some of them don't even do that. Forever agents are for everyone. Now, as you probably suspect at this point, these words have some deep thoughts behind them. So, real estate agents do geographic farming. Forever agents are for everyone.
One of the reasons in my research that revealed that agents, for example, the top agents in California, typically, other than those in Manhattan, make a lot more money than agents in the East Coast. Even though there's the average sales price of a home is pretty similar, compensation is similar, mobility profile is similar. Why the disparity? Here's why. In my research, there's 71 towns in California with more than 100,000 people. So it better skills. Do you think we'd have the number one compensated agent in the network come from, say, for example, the capital of Vermont, Montpelier? No, there's 8,000 people there. It doesn't scale. So what happens is that a lot of agents come into the business and they're first told, put together your top 200 people.
Right.
Oh, look at you, Andrew. You belong to the Greek Orthodox Church. There's your market. That agent's out of the business often in the first 2 years. Or we've got people, for example, in markets where there's only 1% of real estate that's luxury. They're the luxury specialists. That's great, but they've got to be a lot more. Or you see agents, there's 2 equestrian properties, and their whole career is an equestrian specialist. It doesn't scale. The whole world is going towards more decentralization, okay, democratization of information, and populism.
Right.
We have a phenomenal chief of diversity and inclusion and equity, Teresa Plasher Smith, who was the former president of NAREB, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, Hispanic Real Estate. She's a phenom. She's an absolute treasure for our network. There's no one like her. And that's why she and Christy get along so well, because both of them completely are dedicated to heterogeneous instead of homogeneous, okay, servicing of the public, okay? That we want the world to know that our brand is there to serve everyone. It's not just an elite brand. Now, we can use it as an elite brand.
It's good for that.
And yeah, in fact, I used to be with another elite brand. And I used to say to home sellers, when they complimented me in the brand, I say, by the way, it's nice what you said about the brand, but I just want you to also be aware that there's a criticism of our brand that I should let you know. What's that, Alan? Some of our competitors say that we can only sell the upscale homes, that we only specialize in your type of home. Now, I'm sure that that's a criticism you can live with, but we serve everybody. But the point is this. You want to be able to serve all segments, and that's why I've suggested, for example, to Christy and Wendy, they make these decisions, and they always make the right decisions, is that we should also let people know that we don't just have forever agents, we're a for everyone brand. And then people can take our resources and skew it to the segment of the population. That's macro, that's sociology.
I love that one. Forever agents are for everyone.
Exactly.
No one's disenfranchised. Everybody's empowered. And that's why I'm proud to be part of the brand. And I like the fact that they think that way.
Amen.
Because that just makes the world a better place.
Without a doubt. There's nothing more important than that. It's more important than real estate.
Well, that's why it's a proclamation.
Exactly.
Number 33, the last one. But again, add, take away, subtract, make it your own. For Alan and I, we're closing it with this one. Real estate agents make one pledge. And most of them don't even know they did this, but you do. It's to the National Association of Realtors, the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics.
Exactly.
Forever agents pledge to the brand's 4 foundational values: trust, integrity, stability, and longevity. Alan, you created the pledge. You, with the team, kind of spearheaded the Forever Agent movement.
Yeah.
So close it down. We put this at the end for a reason, because this is an important one. And that's why I wear this sticker. It starts great conversations. It reminds me of why I'm doing what I'm doing and how to lead by example for our team, for the industry, particularly for our network. And it all comes from you and your team's work. Why the pledge?
Well, again, the whole movement began with Gino,
Yep.
then Christy, Wendy, Bob, the brokers of I mentioned. But I came up with the idea that it would be helpful to memorialize and almost codify our 4 foundational values:
Right.
Trust, integrity, stability, and longevity. Like I mentioned, several years ago, I donated my kidney, and there was some concern that I might be too old. But I didn't worry for 1 second, because I knew that if they were willing to take my kidney, it would be fine, because doctors take a Hippocratic oath. And that stuck with me. And then recently, my nephew became an Army Ranger. He was captain of West Point in hockey, and they take an oath, okay? People, Supreme Court justices, Over 300 companies have people take an oath. Canadian mounted police all over the world, Japan, China, people take oaths and pledges. Why do they do that? Because they want to get behind shared values. They want to have a manifestation that they believe in something bigger than themselves and that what they do is important. And so the NAR, the Code of Ethics, the Article number 1, for example, is basically you and your client are as one. Every realtor makes that commitment, but ours goes further. So we want to be the only brand. Christy wants us to be the network that basically adheres to 2 belief systems, not just the National Association of Realtors belief system, but our 4 foundational values: trust, integrity, stability, and longevity. That's sacrosanct. Now, the proclamation isn't. These are just you and I.
Right.
We've come up with have at it, the rest of the industry. Come up with whatever you want. But we've spent a lot of weeks forensically going over this and discussions with a lot of top producers and brokers all around the country to synthesize this list. But this is the additional dimension. The core pledge is that one is making a commitment to the 4 foundational values, and very simply, and this is in the pledge language, to serve my clients forever. It's not complicated. It's very simple. And hopefully people are so proud of what they do, so proud of the brand, and what we're finding that they're enthusiastically willing to do something that isn't natural. Right. Because originally people may say, what's this, Pet Rock 2.0? Or what's this, hokey stuff? No, but it's growing, and especially because under Christie's leadership, we're making sure that it's value well beyond the pledge. The mindset, the marketing system, the implementation plan, the podcast, Wendy's marketing materials, Bob Watson's coaching. We've got a great thing going on here.
Well, I believe in it, and that's why I'm so proud to pour time, energy, effort into it, because I just think it's the right thing to do. And our network is so lucky to have this. And slowly but surely, I think everybody's going to realize it. Many people already have, and we have a tremendous amount of support. Yeah. But our network's got, 55,000 people. So we're going to be beating this drum for a long time. And in closing of the 33 proclamations, again, we want to be disputed. We want to have a good dialogue on this. I'm sure we can add 5, 6, 10 more, 20 more, and maybe you want to take a couple away. But these are the things we can do together as a network to really define what it means to be a forever agent. That was the goal. The goal was to define what really is a forever agent. It's not hardworking. It's not some generic, compliment or a generic skill set. It's a key distinction from what we've been taught, what we've been trained, what we believe, how traditional real estates act, and how a forever agent acts. And if you've watched these 3 segments, I hope you can appreciate it's pretty wildly different. And I'm going through the process of changing right now too. I'm good at 8 of these. I'm trying to be good at 33, but that's progress. That's what life's about. So Alan, thanks for coming down to Baltimore again. I've learned more in the last 2.5 days than anything I've learned at a seminar, than any of the years of coaching I've had. And God bless the coaches. I love them all. When you taught me about the marketing systems, the thoughts behind it, helped me co-create the proclamations, going over the marketing program. I just can't tell you how grateful I am for your time, your enthusiasm, and to work with me on this. And I'm really proud to be a part of it.
And it has been a high privilege for me. And I just want to say one last thing. At the end of the day, it's up to every single network member for them to define what they think it means to be a forever agent. We hope that this will influence the conclusions that they arrive at.
Perfect. We'll see you on the next episode. Episode 3 is going to be all on the forever agent marketing proposal. We'll see you then.